Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 407. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. We're on the other side of it, man. It's like E3 never even happened. Who cares? What is E3?
PlayStation
Absolutely
doesn't know.
nothing. You are absolutely correct, Matthew. Matt, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
You were hanging out in a hurricane?
No, I mean, not good for Louisiana, but it went north of Texas. Yeah, it curved north before hitting Texas into Louisiana.
Well, that's good.
Didn't have to worry about it. Although I think it delayed my flight, which Monday kind of sucked, but everything else was great.
Mark, you did not hang out in a hurricane.
Nope, just the basement as usual.
You've been making the hurricanes, though, this week. That's
What are you
not
implying,
really
sir?
I don't know. I have no idea. But I think of hurricanes, I think there's a hockey team, right? Carolina?
You're correct.
Boom. And then I think of sports, and then I think about how sad I am because I forgot. Yeah, the Nets are out, man.
Sorry.
It sucked. It was a hard. I guess by the time last podcast went up, it would have already happened, but I had not seen it yet. But I was stoked. What a way to go out to. Anyway,
The injury bug got you. I think that should make you feel a little bit better.
it's there. Look, man, there's a lot of things that weighed into it. I hung out with my buddies Shaq and Charles Barkley after the game and kind of talked it out with them, and I feel better about it. But
Hey,
Yeah.
at least your team takes shots,
it's just wild. Like, the first time I care about basketball for 10 years, and I pick up on the same team I liked when I left off, and then I'm like, oh, they're gonna do something this year, and they did, man. But yeah,
When this finally happens, Joe, all the losses, they don't matter anymore. When the championship happens. Sorry.
Hey, it was a really good game. The Bucks played a heck of a game, but that's not why we're here. This ain't no Nets cast, although we could if you want. We're here to talk about game of the year, I think. Of course, we've been doing this segment for the last 8-ish episodes, 7-ish episodes, and what we're doing is going through. The three of us collectively have nominated 25 games for top 5 games of the years since 2016, and now we're ranking all of them until we have a grand winner. This week, we're looking at 2020's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. These are the HD remakes brought out by Vicarious Visions, which were long desired and still yet very surprising that they existed and were as good as they are. And yeah, this was one of my favorite games last year, for sure. And I'm still playing it a lot. Nah, maybe not a lot, but I play it once every couple weeks or so. I just spend a couple hours running through half of a career, or I don't really care for the multiplayer. I never really cared for the multiplayer stuff in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Maybe local multiplayer stuff, but like online with strangers, who cares? But yeah, I think the character customization in this is, sorry, I'm jumping right in just talking about it. I didn't even ask you guys what you think about it. But the character customization in this is better than it's ever been, and more importantly, better than most games' character customization. That's something that, depending on the game, is super important to me, and so many games do it so poorly. And this one did not. This one, for once, I can play a character that looks like I want to look like. You know what I mean? Like, typically I end up just creating some whatever because I can't get something that looks quite like me. But now I can. And even more than that, I can go through and grab like real skateboards that I have in real life or have had in real life and have them in the game. So it really realizes that. The only downside to it, and actually I haven't gone back and checked to double check, but I don't think you can be barefoot in this game. But other than that, I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. But really, the fact that they maintained so much of the original soundtracks for both games, the physics feel like they should feel, because that Robomoto Tony Hawk HD from 2012 just did not do what we needed there. And this one did. Faithfully recreated, still added in some new secrets. I mean, just across the board, man. Super good. What about you guys? How did Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 shake out for you?
I will say in terms of gameplay, or in terms of how I played it, it was exactly what I expected to happen, where I was like, right, Tony Hawk game, let me buy it. Played it for like 4 hours, and then really, I mean, I went back to it here and there, but I never spent a significant amount of time with it again, just because I knew what it was. But that's not to say that this was a bad game. It's actually an amazing game. And I think you're right when it's you kind of can't believe it happened, because they tried it once and it was terrible. And why would you do it? Especially a company like Activision, like, all right, well, it didn't sell. It wasn't, they'll say that it wasn't their fault, it just didn't sell, so why bother and try to do it correctly? But when that Jeff Keighley Summer Game event, Jeff 3, what were we all calling it again last week?
Keighley 3?
Keighley 3, yeah. When Keighley 3 last year happened, and it started off with this, and we found out it was Vicarious Visions doing the remake, I instantly was happy to hear that because of the success they had with the Crash Bandicoot stuff. So, I think it plays really well. I think the character creator is very in-depth, although I'm not the character creator person. But yeah, no, it plays how I remember, and that's a good thing, with all the additions that the key ones from like 3 and 4. Because I think it was only a couple weeks ago we were talking about how 4 had the stupid manual tricks that you can keep comboing, and it broke how you play horse. Like, it brought some stuff from 4, but not that. So that was it's nice the care that they had to bring over the newer features from later games to back to 1 and 2 to make them even better.
Mark?
Okay. So I didn't really play a lot of this. I think I got into the hype for like maybe the first month, but even then I didn't play too much of it. I'm not good at these games, but I like them. Even though I didn't get too far, I probably didn't get past the school, honestly. I could never get multipliers, or if I did, I could never land it to like keep the score. So all that momentum just gone and ruined. This is just me, but I still like the game. Growing up with it with N64, I still have that. Even though it was like a somewhat inferior version to PlayStation, I still enjoyed my time with it and everything. Like, I still always respect it and love it. I'm glad it was made. It's the way it was announced, and then like the time frame before that, and then when it came out, the price of it. A lot of it was just clicking. Online was cool to kind of cheese the leveling up. You could just have an infinite grind loop and just collect all that experience. That's basically what I did. I jumped like 30 levels, but that's all I could do. The customization compared to other games, it's like I like it, and then there's parts about it I think they could have improved a little on. Like the faces you can't really customize. It's just preset faces.
Right, I forgot about that. And
it's just like, all right, you kind of have to settle for just whatever that is. I don't think you can adjust the height either. It's kind of just like, or if you can, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I will say
I can't remember height.
I will say, though, it was better than a certain RPG that came out the same year that was highly touted to have this massive character creator. So,
yeah, no, that's true. Tony Hawk definitely has better clothing than that game too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, even though some of that, like, it was like, some of it was simple, but some of it was also cool with like certain clothes. You could change the details, like patterns of, or like certain colors on certain parts of it. I think that is really neat. The skateboard is obviously probably the best part to customize. I think having animated graphics on the bottom of your deck and whatnot, like that's pretty damn cool. And I think you could have like emblems on everything too, which I always appreciate.
Yeah,
Stickers
you can like add them
whatever.
to shirts and hoodies and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like where it lacks in one department, it kind of makes up for it in other parts. And obviously, like customizing like skate parks and stuff too. Like, haven't really seen anything much like that. So.
Yeah, and the thing about the emblems and the stickers and even the clothing and all that, like you unlock that stuff as you level up, which I forgot about. But yeah, like that's huge because it makes you not necessarily want to keep playing. The game is good enough to make you want to keep playing, but because you're still playing, you're still being rewarded for playing, which rules. And I think
it just has a good presentation overall.
Yeah,
I really, from the time it was announced to playing it, just everything about it would just seem like it just clicked, and also good UI in my opinion. Like, I don't know, everything was just kind of easy and right there. You weren't like bombarded with like a bunch of windows all the time. It was just like little tabs and boop, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. For a game that is supposed to be easy to get in and out of, it was like 2 clicks and you were in a level. Like with a character, if you already had a character or a different pro skater, but like it was easy.
Yeah.
Quality of life. That's how I would describe this game.
Yeah, and I think the post-launch support has been really good too, where they immediately, pretty quickly, they added the option to play through the career mode. What do they call it? Solo tours? Because initially,
like
once you'd clear everything and you got all stat points and all goals, the goals were just cleared for those levels, so you couldn't replay through them unless you deleted whatever. But they quickly patched that so that you can do solo tours and you can replay through with multiple characters. And I think even in addition to just leveling up from level 35 to 36 or whatever, they also have all of these challenges in the game too, where it's like, hey, complete solo tour with 3 pro skaters. Or there's like specific things like do this gap with this skater doing their specific move. Like those types of things like give you another sense of challenge that sometimes you happen into and you feel cool for like unlocking something. And other times it's something you have to kind of work towards and practice. And I think that's really rad. And then when those games jumped to the next generation versions, when they did the upgrade to that, like it's so good. I mean, now it runs on Series X at 120 frames a second, or you can flop it to 4K, which looks huge. Yeah, I just think it's a solid across the board, top to bottom package.
Shout out to maintaining the soundtrack and then some as well.
Right, I think that's another important thing too. Is like those games were always super influential on what I listened to and still listen to. And when they announced they were adding new songs to this, I was skeptical. But I think for the most, there's a couple songs I don't really care for. But generally speaking, yeah, it's a good point. Like they've added songs that make sense for Tony Hawk, but also songs that I would and have gone outside of the game to listen to.
And I
mean, like Sega couldn't even do like 5 songs for Crazy Taxi, and
yeah.
And I think that famous opening intro video, the way they recut it, kind of just immediately in like the first 30 seconds you understand what this is, like without it telling you and doing all that, just playing this video that you probably remember from the 90s, and it being recut the way it was, I think just gave way to what you were about to experience.
Yeah, which makes it very difficult now to then rank it against our other game of the years.
Not for me. I'm going right between the Nintendo sandwich of Super Smash Brothers and Splatoon. That's me personally. I don't know where you all go.
I was gonna put it under Tetris Effect, but I can come down a little bit.
Can you read like what's the order again?
Yeah, good call. For the listeners too. Right now, from top to bottom, we've got Tetris Effect, Doom, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 2, Celeste, and Super Mario Odyssey.
I think I'm in agreement with Matt on this.
So between Smash and Splatoon 2?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think it's more than fair.
It kind of reminds me of Smash in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it has.
But in competition, I think Smash just has more experience under its belt.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at them. You can look at them very similarly because essentially they're both remakes. It's just Smash does have the new content and is continuing to add new content and is involved into. I mean, it kind of was a platform from the start, but it's definitely evolved into a platform if it wasn't already.
Everyone is here.
Yep. Another good E3 moment.
Tony Hawk for
real,
Smash.
Yeah, that's I want to stop talking to you guys and go play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 now. That's where I'm at.
Well, thanings everyone.
Yep, see you later.
You can
Thanks
follow
for
me
doing
at
the podcast.
aug_mental.
No, we've got a lot more show to talk about, including updates on the international. Valve previously announced that it would hold TI-10 in Sweden in 2020. Of course, the global pandemic delayed the event, but afterwards, Valve had been and has been working with officials to maintain the plans originally made in 2019. This week, Valve announced that the Swedish Sports Federation had voted not to accept esports into the Sports Federation. And what that means for TI-10 is that the International would not be recognized as an elite sporting event, and those working to obtain a visa would be denied. Following appeals directly with the Swedish government and additional communication on Valve's behalf without reciprocation, Valve has begun the search for another venue within Europe to host the event this year. Qualifiers were set to kick off, and I believe started kicking off on June 23rd last week, but no announcement has been made yet about the new venue. Matt, what kind of impact does this have on the players?
I don't know how it's going to impact the players besides just kind of like, it's going to be more of their organizations trying to scramble around to get them their visas wherever they end up ultimately having to go. But that's the thing, like no matter where they go, it's not like the core set of players are in the US or in England or anything like that. Like everyone's all over the place. So they have to make the decision sooner rather than later to get that all organized. But I know like a tournament like this, they can't, with all the money that's on the line, they can't risk this being played not as a LAN. Just because, you know, people will stream this stuff. The actual TI will have their own streams as well, but it's, you know, people are assholes and they will do their DDoS attacks and make people drop out or potentially pause these matches and have them go for forever. And then the schedule gets all thrown off. So, like, just for internet security purposes, this has to be played as a LAN. So, I don't think there is an option to not host it somewhere. I just hope they find a place sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that especially when you're. I mean, dude, it's hard enough to like make plans to drive to a different state like a month out versus fly to a different country, different continent in, you know, a month. So yeah, I hope they land on it soon and everybody can get where they need to be, because that's, I'm sure, stressful.
Yo, I mean, I think I got good internet in my house, so I can host.
Yeah, let them over, man.
Right here.
Let me call Gabe real quick. Hi, New Zealand.
They did say they wanted to stay in Europe. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yes. They're still
they're looking. They're
beginning to search for another venue within Europe to host the event this year.
I think they're still trying to work with Sweden to make it happen, but it seems like they're going to move to somewhere else in Europe.
Yeah, it seems like they're not getting a response. And they were very quick to put this back out to the public because the denial stuff started happening on June 9th and then follow up on the 14th, and then they very quickly let everyone know just a couple days after the 14th what was going on.
Well, tickets were sold to this, right? I mean, that's part of it. People have tickets and arranging their own travel plans, so the fans are, those. For me, it doesn't matter. The TI's gonna be played wherever, probably. But if I was planning to travel into Sweden, this kind of sucks, like big time. I mean, I think buying the ticket when you did the state of the world and how that can change, but it still sucks.
Yeah. any of those plans. I'm sure the same thing happened for anybody who was planning on going to like the Olympics or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
more on the Olympics later. But first, Matt, you spent some time in Midgar.
Sure.
And you've talked about this in the podcast last time you were on, right?
Yes, I specifically talked about Intermission because I jumped right into the DLC. So funny enough, for revisiting that from 2 weeks ago, I was right at the end. I was like a battle or two, definitely one boss battle, maybe 2 battles away in total away from beating it. That kind of just ended. It took me about 6 hours, I think. I think that was roughly how long it took me. I felt like it just kind of ended, but I guess they can't go too far with Yuffie and Midgar because she's not even part of the plans of the original game in Midgar. So, yeah. But I did mention about the change in ending. It's actually attached to this DLC. There's not like a change, just an addition to the core game's ending. That kind of seems to set up where the second part of this will start. Not that I don't think there was many questions about where it would start, but like maybe how they would get there or whatever. So yeah, there's that. But no, I thought overall it was fun. Like the combat, like I said, different, still fun, but not the same as the core. And then speaking of the core, I have gone back. The hunt, not for Red October, but the hunt for the Final Fantasy VII Remake Platinum Trophy is on. And it starts with beating this game on hard difficulty. Right away, though, just playing this game on PS5, the frame rate, God, thank you for bumping this to 60. It feels really good and crisp. The 4K visuals also make all those little particle effects that you see all around Midgar pop a little bit. I am at the chapter where we see all the Stan Lees. We have not had that magical cutscene, though, that includes all the Stan Lees yet, so I'm waiting for that to pop up to see how that looks. But I still feel like the NPCs are more of a variety. I'm not really looking for it because I'm usually like skipping cutscenes and doing all this stuff just to kind of get the game moving along because I already played it. But I think from what I am seeing is a little bit more varied, so that's good. I still hate though that we have to have Cloud walk through like these little zoomed in sections for 10 seconds, even though I know the PS5 can load these assets much quicker, but I guess core game design doesn't allow for that change to happen. So that kind of sucks when that happens because I know exactly what they did it for, and it sucks that on my PS5 I know I don't need that, but it is what it is. But no, the main thing here is hard mode, and there's a couple key differences with hard mode that make it harder. You're not allowed to use items at all. So potions, high potions, whatever. Not allowed to use them in battle. Not allowed to use them after the fact. Rest stations do not restore your magic points. They restore your health points, but not your magic points. So those two things combined, it is imperative to manage your magic usage throughout the chapter. Now, at the beginning of the chapter, both things refill automatically, but throughout that chapter, and usually most chapters have an end boss fight of some kind, it is imperative that you manage all that. So healing potentially becomes an issue. You just can't mash cure, then use ether, and you're on your way. No, it is like you have to be careful with your heals. You have to be strategic about when you do it, or how you do it. So I have used a combination of using a lot of the prey materia and the chakra materia in battle. That's good ways to get heals. Like I will like intentionally pause killing the last enemy to allow my prey user to get their ATBs fully up, so that way I can deploy as a last second healer before I get the final death blow. So it's not terribly difficult. It's just like more management. And of course, enemies have more health points, and they're a little bit, they hit a little bit harder. And some of the boss battles have more like aggro characters. I think that's the right term. So like, there's more basic enemies in the battles potentially. I haven't gotten to the Hell House fight yet, but I think there's more like aggro type characters in that fight. That's already hard as it is. But despite it being hard mode, I don't find it terribly hard. Yes, the enemies hit harder, so you have to be more conscious of your hit points than I think you were in your normal playthrough. But the Airbuster was probably the first like difficult boss fight that I struggled with. I think I died twice there before I kind of got my shit together and planned accordingly. This, I went into it kind of knowing how that boss battle goes, even though it's been about a year since I played it. But I took it out first try. So I'm feeling pretty good with the way the difficulty is. There are definitely still parts I'm concerned about kind of going forward. Especially the end of that game. The end of this game is, in the regular difficulty, was brutal, so I'm not looking forward to that. But I feel confident kind of making my way through these areas. Oh, and then the other thing is, because you don't want to use your offensive magic powers, you want to save your magic points. Using the elemental with the elemental materia with an actual element on your weapon in areas that you know, like there's a bunch of fire weakness enemies, is huge, because you get all the weakness kills, like you get all the weakness bonus points from your weapon instead of you having to use magic all the time and waste your magic points. So really, it's just how do you manage your magic points and your heals in something where you have no you can't use an item. And I guess that means before you never really needed anyone that had like a warding or some kind of like curing materia to like cure poison or silence or anything like that. But like that's also something now you have to consider in case you get poisoned or something like that. So just different material management. But at the end of the day, like if you're I feel like at the end of the main campaign or the main game of normal, you kind of got a grasp of like how to make your builds, what to do, what not to do. And if you just kind of carry that with just a little bit more management, I think you'll be fine playing through it so far in the first 7 chapters I've been through.
I feel like after it initially came out, there were a lot of people who played through it again on hard, chasing the platinum, and after doing so said like this should have been the game. Like just the fact that you do have to manage and you have to actually like actively learn the balance of materia and all that, like that seems like that's a lot more rewarding than, not that the original game wasn't, but after playing through that, it seemed like a lot of people really liked that aspect of it.
I mean, I know why they did it the way they did, because hard difficulty goes to chapter select within your main save profile, but I almost wish the no items thing feels very cheap. That's like, I like the rest points not healing magic points, like that's fine. That I can kind of get behind, but the not using items just feels like well, we need something to really amp up the difficulty. Oh, let's just not let them use items and have them really manage magic points. You
feel like magic points aren't scarce? Like you feel you're only refilling them at the beginning of new chapters. That's it?
Pretty much. I mean, you can hit the boxes and you get a couple of those shards that raise that back up for a little bit, but they're not around all the time. And just because there's sets of boxes everywhere, but like just because you hit them doesn't mean you get one of them. So there are stupid tactics to because they're RNG, they're not set. There are stupid tactics where you can save scum to regain magic points if you're that desperate for it. But I have not even thought about doing that yet. There has been absolutely no need to. But yeah, no, like if you use materia, like you can get magic points absorption linked to something, and you get magic points that way by hitting enemies. Like there are different ways to counter. I just feel like I don't know, like just reset the items, or let me only have like 3 of every. I feel like that would have been like just a strict limit on items would have been a fair, like a more less cheap version of doing hard mode. Or like limit, like don't let me have ethers, like let me have potions or whatever, but don't let me have, I don't know, like do something like that. Yeah. It's like the no item is just because it's stupid, because you're going to all the containers and you're still picking up potions and whatever, but you can't use them. So I don't understand the point.
Oh yeah, they should have
either knocked
that out.
Yeah, or given me something. I don't know, but yeah, it's I mean, you take those items back to the main game or like the normal mode if you replay that for whatever reason. Like so, like it's not a waste, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess for platinum cleanup or something like that.
Yeah. But no, that's the base of the platinum stuff. I'm going to have to do a lot of the wall market stuff because, of course, you have to get all the different dresses for Cloud. There's a couple of mini games that I did not do well in the first run. The Jessie bike ride in like Chapter 4. There's like I guess like an addition to her line when she says you were awesome at it that I guess I never got. So I'm going to have to redo that. Playing on a hard, I got my ass kicked a little bit, so I did not get it that time. So I'll have to play on easy or something. But the bulk of it is hard and getting some collectibles. But I feel like I'll just do that on normal again if it need be. Because really, the chapters aren't that long. It's just when you're playing the main game, watching the cutscenes, that extends that life. But you can just hit start and skip, and half the time you're just thrown right into a battle. And you're like, oh wait, right? Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're here now. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing through that one again eventually. And seeing whatever the heck they do with part 2 in a couple years, I assume. It was the combat was super just rewarding and satisfying. Cool. Well, I wish you luck on the platinum train. I want to know how many Stan Lees you come across. My thing there was in the one that stood out to me was when you first get to that little town where everybody loves Aerith. They went with Aerith, right? That's the.
I thought it was Aerith.
Yeah, I think it's Aerith.
They went with Aerith. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Don't worry, it trips me up. Don't worry. The only reason I know is just my character Cloud just met her in my playthrough.
Yeah. So you're like right about to get to that whole little area where
I'm literally walking through it now, and I got tired of walking through it, so I saved it.
But that was the hot spot where I just kept every building I walked into, there was a Stan Lee. And you'd walk outside, there's a Stan Lee. You walk back inside, there's a different Stan Lee. You turn around, and on the opposite wall from one Stan Lee, there's a Stan Lee. So, how many Stan Lees are there in the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official video game?
Haven't really seen any. Nor have I seen any side by side, but you can make your own if you so wish to. But man, what a game! If you want to jump right into character creation as the first thing, I didn't realize how robust this was going to be. Getting into it, so much that out of the 15 hours I've played of this game so far, 5 of it was spent making a character. Because I was so determined to make like a Pixar version of myself. And then like I kept going back and adjusting little things here, and I'm like, maybe maybe the eyes are maybe a little bit too big. Maybe I got to make them smaller. The mouth is a little too wide. Got to make it thinner. Or, like all these things. I was trying to get as close as I could. Because if you don't know me, I love character creators and just doing dumb shit with it. And plus, you're gonna be looking at your character the whole time you're doing all these games. So it's you wanted to make it look decent, and you can change it at any time. So that's cool too. You're not tied to just that one character either. You can make as many as you want. You can even alter like your teammates that are part of your country. Obviously, I picked Poland, but like I only changed one of my characters to look like Chris Redfield. Like he's like the current like village version, so he just looks punished. At least as much as you can in this game.
You could technically make Poland just all the Chris Redfields and different looks throughout the entire saga.
I can even copy and paste that for every person if I wanted to.
Oh, that's.
I could just have I could have 25 Chris Redfields, or how I forget how big the team is. I assume it's 5x5 on the grid, but yeah. But this game, I'm really surprised by it. It's, I think, full price. It's like $40, and jumping into it, like the first song they play, it's it's pretty nice. It's not what I expected from, I guess, a sports game or an Olympics game. It had cheerful Nier vibes, if that makes sense. it's like weird a cappella, like chanting with like this weird violin going around.
Have you ever seen an opening ceremony of an Olympics game?
Yeah, and I remember like the usual Olympics theme from the 90s that I heard, where it's like the trumpets. It's like,
sorry, I think I said that wrong. And, like the actual spectacle 3-hour long opening ceremonies of the real life Olympics games.
Yeah, like I've seen bits and pieces where like they do like different themes and shows and stuff, and like
yeah, okay, all right.
Some are cool, some are creepy.
It's all bizarre. It's all bizarre.
No, but like this was just like a live action cinematic thing of like Tokyo, and you're hearing this music. But then once you get to like the start screen is when like this like near-esque music kind of kicks in, and they make you make a character like right there. So I just had that looping, and like it sounds cheesy, like out of context kind of, or it sounds like it comes from like an obscure RPG. But then the more I listened to it, the more I was like, all right, I like it. I don't know, it just kind of grew on me. But the rest of the music in the game, when you're doing sporting events and like, I don't know, you see like the results screen or whatever, like that's all like very different. It's like very techno-ish kind of. I don't know, but so yeah, the main meat and potatoes, the sports, right? Like they do a good job of explaining how to do each game. Like the tutorial, I mean, you can always do practice modes if you want. So you have the practice and you have, the actual Olympics. But you know, your first time, it will show like this little window that pops up, and you go through like a little slideshow of like maybe like 3 to 4, maybe 5 pictures, and it just tells you the simple controls to do at each point. Cool. What it doesn't tell you is if you hit the button to check the controls, yes, the first screen is everything that you were taught. But then you hit the tab to the advanced controls, and depending on the sport, that can be a lot. Like basketball, that one I was like trying to learn, and that's like, for me, that's one of the hardest ones to do. But like, you know, it would tell you like how to pass, how to shoot, and all that. But then the advanced stuff, you could like hit the right stick to juke a player to like spin around them. You can like hold in the button and like holding the like a shoulder button, hit a face button to do like different kinds of like trick shots and whatnot. All these things, and I was like, wow, okay. Like I like that these are so simple that you can just play it casually. But if you really want to take it seriously, there is that level to do that. Even with like table tennis and, you know, tennis and rugby, like they all have their own advanced techniques and tricks that you can do and pull off. Even boxing was really interesting. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but like for that one, you use the left and right sticks. It's a twin stick fighter, which I really like the idea of. Like, it works so well for this. So obviously left stick is the left arm, right stick is your right arm. And depending on the direction, you do different punches. So like forward ones will obviously be your jabs, and depending on what your character's dominant hand is for that sport, your dominant hand is your stronger jab, and your other hand is like your like quick jabs. So it's like, so I'm right-handed, so the left hand would be like a 1, 2, 3, and then my right hand would just be like a strong, like just one thrust. The outward directions, horizontal, for each arm is, I believe they're body blows. And I think just both sides, left and right, I think they're just different body blows. And down on both of them are your uppercuts. And as that's going, there's like, you know, you fill up a meter, kind of like a fighting game. And then it's like 3 levels. And for each level, you have a different type of special you can pull off, which is, it's always, in any of these games, you typically have a meter for your character. And left bumper or L1 will activate it, along with a combination of another button or a direction or something. So like, that was cool. I'm trying to think like what my favorites were out of all of them, because like the running ones, they're mostly kind of the same. A lot of them, it's just, you know, tap A, to keep running, but like at some point you can hit like hold a direction on the D-pad and, you know, tap A and you will like burst into flames and start running a little faster. Like, yeah, it's like that one. I forget the names of them exactly, but like, you know, your typical like 100-meter dash. I think the 200 one or whatever. It's like you're hurtling over things, and then they have like the long jump or whatever. That one's a little more involved because you have to aim with the joystick to like adjust your trajectory.
So with the variety of it, is it that your character is going through all of these events, or and then do you feel like could you just play basketball over and over again? Could you just go running over and over again and that's it? How do they kind of like dole out the actual, like, is there like a story mode where you're like, okay, you're going to go around, or are you just kind of choosing from a list of events?
Like, as soon as you hit start, it takes you right to the menu. It's like this big square of the Olympic Games, and those ones you can either do online or offline against computers, and you just pick a sport and you go through the qualifiers, they call them, and then you just see what place you come in. If you happen, so I did the 100-meter dash one, and that's the only one I did, but well, that's not true. I did boxing, came in second. 100-meter, I came in first, got the gold. This is against computers, and after winning gold in practice mode, it unlocked like a professional sport challenger to go against me in the practice mode, which is like a harder difficulty than what I'm usually up against, and that was kind of interesting, but and also very tough. Like it really makes you be accurate with your timings. Like, so for me, it's a 100-meter dash, for example. A lot of these games can do it. I mean, a lot of these sports can do it, but kind of like Mario Kart, you know how like you can get like that secret boost when you start off?
Yeah. This
game does that. So like it will say ready or set or something like that, and as soon as the words fade, you hold in the left trigger and your guy will start charging up. He'll have like this weird like aura around him. It'll go from like blue to yellow, and hopefully when it flashes pink is when it will say go, and then that's when you obviously go. And pink in this game, like the color indicators, pink is what you want. You want it to be like the most perfect timing is when it's pink. So like if there's a ring that you have to like, if you have to hit and the ring has to close in on the ball, like if you're doing like table tennis and you're doing a serve, you want the most perfect serve, it goes from, I'm not sure if blue is there, but it starts with yellow, and you'll see it shrinking around the ping pong ball, and it'll be pink, and that's when you get like a perfect serve, and it'll be like on fire. So they really try to make you be like super in tune with timing in this game, and I'm bad with timing. Like video games with counters, I'm awful with it. It's just not for me. But so the sprinting thing, like trying to learn when to start off and get like a good fast start, and like trying to like wait for the guy to say go is like the hardest part for me, because it's not just lights that count like Mario Kart, and it's like boop 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 go. It'll be like ready, and then the words will fade, and it's just quiet, and then it's go, and it's like, oh shit, okay.
Is there like an overall like what's the thread of progression? Is it leveling up? Is it just getting gold and everything? Are you unlocking new shorts to try out?
So most of it is just you like getting points, and you use those points to spend on like you can buy outfits, but you can't like customizing the clothes isn't really like that robust. Like similar to Tony Hawk, like this exceeds in like the facial features and like some of the hairstyles, but like sorry mullets, but
yeah,
clothing very simplistic. It's usually just it's like it's separated into torsos and hats, or not torso, but like body and hats. So it's like you can't mix match a shirt with pants. It's all just what you see is what you
whatever
get.
The set is. Well, can you get a good collection of jumpsuits?
Kind of.
Tracksuits,
yeah,
I should say.
You know what? Weirdly, there isn't really like there isn't my kind of tracksuit. They just have like legit like athlete, shorts, tank top, or
Boo.
yeah, like that kind of thing. But the cool thing is that you can obviously have any outfit you want for any sport you're doing. So if you want that to be the Sonic mascot for every sport, you would have to go to the outfit section of the menu and adjust that for every sport manually. It's not just an automatic thing and you just bring it in. And you can pick your number if you want. All that like useless stuff. You can, you have like a fighting game, you have titles. So I think before I unlocked the Wolf title, I was known as Meteor. And I can't remember if that was because of boxing I got that title. Because the way I was like knocking people down or something like that. It's either that or table tennis. I forget where I got it from. But that's how you get those. But yeah, the real progression is just, I think it's just, it's all on you as the player. It's not really in the game. You're not leveling up. There are stats for characters. It's like there are 9 different presets, and you can't adjust those. You can't spend points to like upgrade them. It's just, there's 3 categories. There's one that's more speed focused, one that's more strength focused, and one that's more technique focused. And I think they're like categorized by like X, Y, Z. And each one has different tiers of it. So like X is 1, 2, 3, Y is 1, 2, 3, Z is 1, 2, 3. And the more you excel in that one, obviously the other 2 are going to be down a little bit, or like that's just usually what it is. And so like you get tier 1 of each of X, Y, and Z for free, but you have to use points to unlock the other ones, and then you have to spend more points to equip it. It's really weird. Like it'll cost like maybe 1,500 or 2,500 or something to unlock it, but it costs 500 to actually equip it.
And what if you've already equipped something? Can you go back to it without spending points, or do you have to spend points to re-equip?
You have to spend points to re-equip, I think.
Weird.
Yeah. I guess because like the way some of these sports are set up, they made it seem like you would just kind of stick to one for like maybe one column of sports that are more like strength focused, or there's ones that are more technique focused, ones that are more speed focused.
So I think you're answering my question, but you said that you have a roster of characters. You said like 6 or something like that for each country. So like, do you?
It's like a lot.
What?
It's like 20.
Oh, okay.
It's like like there's a lot.
Oh, okay. So do they each have their own skill? Each of these characters have their own like skill set, and then do you have to assign them to an event, or is this just like a collection of skins, and the game just kind of randomly generates which skin goes into what event, and it doesn't really matter?
Well, out of your roster, like you obviously have to pick one player to be. And then if the sport requires other people, it will just kind of toss one in there.
So your character is playing like every event.
Yeah, so when I made me, I'm doing every event, and depending on the sport, I can choose what before going into it all, whatever. But I can switch to another character in my roster if I so please. I don't have to be my created character, and I can customize those too. But I would have to do it like I don't know if they all get assigned the same stats across the board, or I didn't go that far to check, but I know you can probably assign your own like stat build with each character, so you don't have to keep spending money to switch back and forth. Because that makes sense.
No, because you're traditional Olympics. Like you have your dude that swims, but that's all he does. He doesn't play basketball and do track and field. I was just
right.
I was
they probably wanted me.
I was wondering if there was like
that.
a management part of this where like I don't think there's like a nation manager or something like that assigns athletes or what. I don't think that's how that works. But I was curious if they got into that where you kind of ran it more like an RPG, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like they go that deep with like, hey, you assigned this person to only do these sports. I'm wondering if the computer will, based on its stats, will it know what to assign who's the most capable of heightening your chances of winning. Like if I did the baton pass one, I'm wondering if it picks the ones that are more excelled in speed than strength or technique. Because you kind of technically have to play as each character when you're doing a baton pass, and it's all about, for that one, like there's this vertical meter, and like towards the very top of it, like maybe 10% of that bar is like a pink area, and you have to keep tapping A to make the line stay in that pink bar as to keep up speed.
For a flawless
and then
roll.
right, and then that locks in once you reach a far enough thing, and then there's this line on the floor as you're running, and that has to touch the other character, and then you have to time that with a trigger, and that's the baton pass. So hopefully I could probably make all of them more speed centric, and that might increase my chances of winning.
So like overall, like, because I've played some of the older Olympics games, official Olympics games, not the Mario and Sonic ones. Are you like overall happy with the way a lot of the games are like controlled, how they feel gameplay wise, or is it like, all right, there's a couple of highlights and then the rest are meh, and there's a couple of garbage ones?
So to start that off, my background with these games, the last Olympics games I played was on the 64, and it was like the Winter Olympics. I know that was probably pretty stiff from what I remember, but I still kind of enjoyed it for whatever I knew what I was doing.
A lot of those games back then, it was just like quick time events before they became really popular around the Resident Evil 4 time. And it never, like, some of it worked, but like I know like they recycled a lot of the same kind of quick time events for different events. So
yeah,
it was not a great game.
But like, as somebody who hasn't played too many sports games in quite some time, this feels pretty well polished. Like, everything that you jump into, it kind of has like this approachness that's like, if that's even a word, it's like Mario Party, right? Like, they give you simple controls, you go into it, you kind of know what to do. Minus the board, obviously, and all that.
Yeah,
but
the worst part of it. But yeah, all right. So this is the best Mario. This is the best version of Mario Party we have.
But it's like more in depth about it too. At the same time, like, yeah, it teaches you how to play, but you still have to learn how to do it when perfect your timing and whatnot. And then if you really want to be more advanced about it, you can learn the advanced controls if you want to. But it's not required. But it's definitely an edge once you learn it.
That's just like any sports games. Like, you look at you're talking about basketball. 2K, NBA 2K is the perfect example. Like, yeah, you can shoot and pass, but like, once you learn how to do like your pro hops, how to use the analog stick for specific moves, how to, use the analog stick for specific shots inside the paint, yeah, you have an edge on the dude that just knows how to shoot and pass.
And you know what? I played baseball just so I could talk about it with you.
Oh, okay.
So, like, because I'm curious on what you would think about it, if I can describe it well enough. You could choose how many innings you want to do. I just did 3 innings, and they were pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
But I did both, obviously, batting and pitching. And before going in, you can assign what position you want your player to be. You don't have... I don't think... Well, I didn't change pitcher, but it looked like you didn't have to be, like, your character didn't have to be the pitcher. Like, he could have been like an outfieldsman or something. But you would still control a pitcher probably. But your character, I guess, based on stats and whatnot, you can choose where you want them to be on the field. But the pitching is really weird. It's like, but like in a good way. So you're kind of playing a mind. Obviously, you're playing a mind game with the batter, right? And the way they do this is you have a 3x3 grid around the catcher's mitt, and the batter sees this on their end, and the pitcher sees it on their end. But the pitcher is choosing where they want to throw the ball. So like you pick with the joystick on what part of this grid you want the baseball to be, and like there'll be like a little timer. It's like a 2-second timer or something. And right before that, you can choose with the right stick what type of pitch you want to do, and it gives you like 5 options:
fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and then whatever wild card they want to use as the 5th pitch.
Yeah, I think it was like splitter or something like that.
Like a sinker, yeah.
Yeah. So the batter can see where the pitcher is placing the ball icon on the grid.
That's wild.
and the batter has to try to match, has to try to line within that allotted time of the ball timer. You have to try to match where the ball is going to be on the grid, but that doesn't mean that's where the ball is going to land. So like if you're throwing a curveball and the curveball goes to the right, if you start on the left, it will end on the right side of the grid. But if you start on the right side of the grid, it's going to go off the grid. So like it's this whole mind game of like, all right, the ball might be here, but is it going to end up here? And so you got to try to like
more of a puzzle game, more than
a little bit.
Yeah, that's wild.
A little bit, but it works. Like I wasn't turned off by any of it. It was very intriguing.
Yeah, and that makes that much more. I feel like that makes that much more approachable for someone like you. Like you're not playing MLB The Show for hours on end like I am every year.
Right.
I think that definitely makes that more approachable for sports like that.
Yeah, and the rest of it seemed pretty normal for a baseball game. Like you can have you can control each character on the team and like pass the ball and throw it, and running the bases is automatic. Though I don't think you can really control that. I don't think you can steal bases from what I've seen. I might have to go back and check, honestly. But
it's like Wii baseball. You just kind of swing the bat, and wherever the runners go, they go.
Yeah, but it was cool. I like that one a lot.
This is the first Olympics where skateboarding has been recognized as an official sport. So how is skateboarding represented?
It got substituted with BMX. That's the
talk right now.
But like that one, you're just pedaling, and when you see red arrows, you have to jump when you hit the arrow, and you will do tricks in the air to gain up your speed, and you can grind on rails if they're there on the course.
When you say substituted with, you mean like there is no skateboarding, it's just BMX, or it's just like the gameplay is more BMX style?
There's no skateboarding. It's BMX is the closest.
Let me get back on the phone, please.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Haven't they been through enough?
Hopefully, if this gets successful, they'll do a winter one as well, and then maybe when it comes back to summer, they'll add skateboarding or something.
So
yeah,
I wanted to talk about that possibility because you, Mark, were saying this game seemed very well polished, right?
Yeah.
Technically, the developer got a year delay because of COVID. Probably one of the few games that actually benefited from the time difference. However, if it's the same team that is possibly working on a Winter Olympics, now they have a much shorter turnaround time because of the delay. So I'm curious to see, one, if the delay actually really did help this game a lot, which I'm sure it did in some way. Like, the more time you give something, you can only make it better, right? But now I'm curious to see if they had like a team already working on Winter, or if they were expecting to turn around real quick, or how they pivoted. I think that's a real interesting story in a situation like this.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be beneficial if they just kept like the same like character creator and like those assets and whatever. Like, they don't even need to change the menu that much. It's really plain and simple. Like, it's all just right there on one screen, and then like that takes you into.
I mean, I'm sure a lot
menus.
of it can be borrowed. Like, I mean, I haven't played this obviously, but like I feel like you can take some of the similar stuff from like running to to skiing or something, like similar things, right? But when you're saying something that's in depth as basketball and all the controls there, well, like, all right, well, are we going to do that with hockey? Because hockey can equally be that way. So probably, but like now do you have the time to do that and stuff like that? So I think one, if there is a Winter's game, which this has gotten some traction. I've been hearing and seeing this game on Twitch and in my echo chamber of people. So I think this game's doing all right, and it seems like it's a decent game. Besides, like, especially in regards to how past official Olympics games have played. So I'm curious if they'll, they got the green light for the Winter's game, but to see how that turns out, depending on how the development cycle got all affected by the year delay.
Yeah. this also has like a ranked online mode. And if you are playing online, because I played once online just to try it out, but maybe it's just because of the time I played, or maybe because not enough people picked it up, or whatever. But like, there wasn't really a lot going on online. Thankfully, you can just play against computers in the Olympic mode if you want, or you can play with a friend. You can do two. Actually, I think two of you can go online as well because table tennis and tennis and whatnot, they have doubles as well as singles, and volleyball is also doubles. So you can just have a friend join with you online. But this person I competed against. I don't know if they were actually from France, but their character was representing France. And they had their own custom list of what sports that you want to go in. But they just went down the first column and just picked like the first like 8 things right there. So it wasn't like a best of, 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. It was just go down each one. If you win, you win. If you don't, you're either first or you're second or whatever. You still go against computers as well as the other player. But we were like going back and forth. One of us would be in first, one of us would be in second. We just kept switching positions till like the very end. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you've piqued my interest on this one. $40 is not bad to jump into.
Or once the Olympics officially end here in a few weeks, and this game gets discounted down to $20.
That's yeah. Now, when the Olympic Games 2022 hit next year, which SEGA mascot do we expect to be in that game?
I mean, I'm sure they'll keep Sonic in there. Probably Tails.
I vote Blaze from Streets of Rage, but that's just me.
You don't want Blaze the cat?
It is Sonic the Hedgehog's 30th anniversary this week. A couple anniversaries hit this week. And yeah, they did a little live orchestra with an actual orchestra plus Crush 40. Mark, I know you watched through that entire thing. I scrubbed through and listened to a little bit of it just to check it out after you said how it was actually pretty good. But let's take a couple minutes to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. First debuted June 23rd. Right? Yeah, June 23rd, 1991. What was your first Sonic video game?
The first one.
Matt?
I don't remember. It was 1 or 2.
Wow. I was 3 years old.
I don't remember.
I remember mine was 2 because I think by the time we got a Genesis, it was the bundle that just kind of came with 2. Although the original Genesis came with Sonic 1 as a pack-in. That was Tom Kalinski's claim to fame. But by the time we got a Genesis, it was the second hardware revision or I guess the first hardware revision, but the second hardware model of the Genesis. And we got Sonic 2 with it. And I wouldn't play Sonic 1 until after, at a cousin's house, and then wondered where Tails was and what was going on there. And I remember that was always the thing, is my brother, being 3 years younger than me, was always stuck playing as Tails, and in Sonic 2, Tails was not the favorite. Also, he wasn't as cool. Sonic was cool, man. Like, back then, it was like, he was fast, he was blue, he had an attitude, he tapped his foot, he was very emotive. It was very different for a video game character. And you had TV's Urkel bringing him to life in the Saturday morning cartoon, which led to a lifelong adoration of chili dogs and Jaleel White. What is your favorite Sonic video game of all of the Sonic games throughout the years?
Man. Do we want to separate this into 2D and 3D? Or
gut reaction. What's your favorite Sonic game?
Gut reaction is Adventure. Sonic and Knuckles?
It's also a good one.
I like because that game was the one that introduced the press down and rev, right?
That was in 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that in Sonic and Knuckles still, so I'm gonna.
But Sonic and Knuckles had the lock-on cart, which
I remember
just
the
changed
cart.
everything.
Yeah, I remember the cart. I remember the cool design of of that, and I liked playing as Knuckles because everyone liked being Sonic.
Yeah,
Same.
Yeah, Knuckles was cool.
I think before the transition to 3D, I think I played Sonic and Knuckles more than any of them.
My gut reaction was 2. Like 2 still just Chemical Plant Zone. That's my heart. Plus 2's got
Iconic.
Yeah, I think it's just that was the one. That was the first one, so it's just like everything's gonna be based on that for me. I think a lot of games have done a great job at living up to that, but yeah, 2's still like I will always go back to 2. You guys talked about playing Sonic and Knuckles. Did you play Sonic 3 a bit?
I think as a kid I missed out on 3. My cousin, because I played anything Sega was at my cousin's house.
Mm-hmm.
So like he had Sonic 2, and Sonic and Knuckles, and then I learned about the whole cartridge thing. I thought that was the third game for the longest time, and then I think it wasn't until like the Mega Collection for like GameCube I played the third one, and I like that. I like that one too.
It kind of was the third game. You can go back and there's people have documented this stuff in good video form and things like that, but Sonic and Knuckles was actually the leftovers of Sonic 3 that they couldn't fit all into one cart. And that's why the lock-on technology stuff happened anyway, because they wanted to be able to put Knuckles back in and all of that. And the Sonic 3 I remember getting and loving because of you had the bubbles you could get. So you could have the fire bubble that made Sonic kind of shoot across the screen, or the electricity one that attracted rings to you. But then we had you mentioned like the Sonic Mega Collection. There were all of those things, and Sonic's transition to 3D. But what was your history with Sonic the Hedgehog 4?
So this was what was supposed to be the episodic one, right?
Not initially, but yeah, it ended up being the episodic one.
I played the demo on PS3 and immediately realized this is another bad Sonic game, and then turned it off.
I remember booting it up. I think I was playing it on 360.
Mm-hmm.
And I started the first level, got to a quarter pipe, but for some reason didn't have the momentum to make it all the way up, and then I stopped playing.
I remember learning it was coming. I couldn't believe it was that thing of like, not that I had like totally lapsed with video games, but I'd like, there was a period where like they were not as integral to my life as they are now or once were before. It was the period where like other things kind of took precedent, but then kind of hearing that there was a Sonic the Hedgehog 4 coming, it was like, oh man. And then I remember Ben and I being stoked about it, and then I remember it coming out, and Ben and I no longer being stoked about it. But I remember trying to play a whole bunch of it, and like it just never felt right. Something went terribly wrong, and then they announced episode 2, and I was like, okay, well, they're going to add Tails, they're going to fix it, everything's going to be okay, and then it just never got there. But I think that, there's been some missteps along the way, but I think Sonic still has potential, and I think Mania showed that. I think that this new Colors revival seems exciting. I think whatever they're doing with that other 2022 game, I think is interesting. Well, hopefully interesting. How does Sonic's 30th anniversary stack against other anniversaries we've seen? To you?
Seems like they do a pretty good job of showing appreciation for that franchise. Like it seems pretty. I mean, there's a lot of awareness I've seen compared to other games that. I mean, from what I'm exposed to, it seems like Sonic speaks the loudest. Unless Nintendo does something.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't follow. Like, I don't keep track of the dates for a lot of the anniversaries and stuff. But I will say, hey, Sega made it very apparent that this is the 30th anniversary, and they did all this, and I think the amount of content around the 30th anniversary is quite good. Maybe just like one half step below Mario's last year. going into this year. But this is a very good dump of content.
I would even put this over Mario's. The number of specifically with the number of cameos that Sonic's had and will seemingly continue to have throughout the year. Like Sonic just keeps popping up in games, which is really cool. But I think the one thing that maybe Mario did, putting out those 3 games for people to play on Switch, is maybe one step up. Where Sonic wise, we do have those the ports of the 2D games are coming, but seemingly not until 2022. Colors remasters coming, which is exciting, but that's not immediately available now. But
you also had the Mario 35 thing, and I know that wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but that was like a new option.
Yeah, that was but I think especially compared to Zelda or Metroid, there's not necessarily a lot of celebration happening in that regard. Specifically, we heard quite polar opposites, where Aonuma saying at E3, these are all the plans we have for Zelda's 35th anniversary, versus we're not done announcing what we're doing for Sonic's 30th anniversary. It seems like the Sonic Minecraft thing is a perfect example of that, which Mark will talk about in a little bit, but that was out of nowhere this week.
It's like the leash on Sonic is pretty loose, if one at all. Compared to
it works.
A Nintendo property, it's tight grip.
Right. The thing with that is you would look at that as maybe a bad thing, right? Because if Nintendo opened it up, it's well, then you're letting Mario, you don't have direct brand control. But I feel like what Sega's doing with Sonic is they don't necessarily have the direct control, but the stuff that's coming out of that is super creative and inventive in so many ways. Sometimes it's just a dumb Sonic mascot that runs around a track. But even that is more exciting than not, right? And that's not doing brand damage, I don't think. That's the big thing, too, is I think it's, if anything, it's making me appreciate Sonic more in that regard.
Look, I am very happy to see Sonic in that regard in this Olympics game. That's
you know what I mean? Well, what is your favorite song from Sonic games?
I don't know the music that well. I mean, the first area of every game, what's the greens? What's it called?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Green
the most
Hill
that's the most iconic one. That's the one I recognize most immediately. So I guess that by default.
Mark?
This is it's so hard to pick one, but I'm just gonna give this in 2 parts, I guess. I'll keep it short. First one that comes to mind now is I don't know if it's Hydrocity or Hydro City.
Ooh.
But Hydrocity Zone or whatever. Love that song.
Yes.
It's just it feels calm in some ways, which is opposite of Sonic to me, but for some reason it just works.
Yeah, it does.
So out of the 2D games, I think that one stands out foremost. And this one's weird, but I guess it wouldn't be me otherwise, but I have a weird soft spot for the main theme song from Sonic 06.
I don't know that off the top of my head, but
it's called His World. And they have, I think Crush 40 has a version of it, but it was originally performed by Zebrahead.
Okay.
And I liked Zebrahead growing up a little bit. I haven't really listened to him much lately, but just that weird formulated pop rock with I don't know. It's just that it's that it captures that modern Sonic vibe for sure to the fullest. Even if it's cheesy, even more so. But yeah, those are the first 2 that come to my head.
Mine's front runners between Flying Battery Zone and the Toxic Caverns theme from Sonic Spinball, because that one just too. Sonic Spinball has way too good of music for that game.
And I love the whole Sonic Adventure soundtrack, so it's hard to pick just one, but Sonic Adventure captures a good atmosphere.
What is the best Sonic cameo?
Dude, maybe I can't think of anything else, but the Sonic one, or this Olympics one.
Duh.
This Olympus one.
That's pretty good.
He looks so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love that it's a mascot.
Yes, that's the best
outfit.
part. Like, who in the right mind is going to run a 100-meter dash in a mascot uniform?
It's so good when you're boxing or doing judo and you're just like beating and throwing the shit out of people. Like, oh man. There's some that I thought were pretty cool, but for some, I've always had a weird soft spot for the Rad Mobile arcade game or whatever, where he's just a little keychain dangling from the mirror.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Because I would see that after playing Sonic, but that happened before Sonic.
Yeah.
That was like a tease of like what's to come. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. I just like the idea of just a little dude just always being there.
Yeah,
and I think other Sega racing games kind of kept that.
Yeah, a lot of them did. And Sega did a good job of what Yacht Club Games did with Shovel Knight, where back in the 90s, Sega was like, put him in everything. Like, Sonic is the mascot. So you had things like puzzle games where he would show up as like an outline on a tile in the background. Like, it'd be the weirdest little appearances of Sonic.
I don't know if this one counts, but Donkey Kong Country 2. Cranky has a Hall of Fame of like his favorite video game heroes.
Right.
And so it's Mario, Yoshi, and Link, but then there's a trash can, and by the trash can, it has Sonic's shoes and Earthworm Jim's gun, and it says "No Hopers."
I forgot about that little. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if Sega was like gave an okay to that or what, but
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Sonic also appears in Minecraft now this week. A brand new pack for Minecraft released that kind of reimagines some of Sonic's history in Minecraft and then opens up a new suite of tools and functionality within Minecraft itself. Mark, you spent some time playing Sonic Minecraft. How does it play, feel, run, look?
So, I forgot I had spent money on in-game currency for this game. Because some of the DLC cost mine coins or whatever it's called, or you can buy like stuff for your character to customize with. So the DLC I think is like $7.99, but I only had to pay like $2.99 for it or something like that, maybe something like that. And the first thing I did was I switched from mouse and keyboard to controller, and then I had to learn how to switch from first person to third person. It didn't feel right playing a first person. And, so, like, I was trying to make this play as Sonic as possible as I could. And gameplay-wise, I don't think it's quite there. Effort, like, you know, I respect them trying to take Sonic's core gameplay and put that and translate that into a Minecraft engine.
Sure.
And it feels like it would be easy if you could only alter the controls just a little bit more than what it is. Like, for Sonic to run, obviously, you would have to hold in whatever the key is to make Steve run. And as that goes, Sonic does get momentum. But the camera doesn't quite catch up. It, like, kind of zooms out a little bit as you're, like, running. And by the time, like Sonic fashion, by the time you finally get somewhere, and you're getting a good speed, you get halted. And it kind of kills it for you. And usually, because, like, I could only have access to, like, there's, like, 3, pictures, I don't know what to call them, portals, I guess you can jump into. And, but you have to unlock the other 2. So I only played the first one, which is pretty much Green Hill Zone. Or their version of it. And it played the music, which is really cool. But whenever it came to, like, you hit the spring to jump over a pit of spikes, whether you're going fast or just walking, which walking is just super butt slow, it's hard to clear the pit of spikes. I always make it, like, right at, like, the line of where I would hit land, but it registers me hitting the spikes, and then I lose my rings. And it's like every time that happened. Whenever there was a spring, I couldn't get the momentum from the spring to like really arch and jump forward. It would just kind of be more kind of just stiff and then kind of go over just a little bit. So yeah, the jumping isn't great. Running is cool if you have nothing to jump over. And you don't have to play as Sonic. You can switch to other characters, and each character has their own abilities. So, like, obviously for Sonic, you have the spin dash. So you charge that up, and you go. If you're Tails, I think, honestly, I would recommend Tails. But yeah, you can, you can just double jump to fly up. Or no, you still have to hit, like, the special button to activate the flying. But he seems the most approachable when it comes to traversing these worlds without having to worry about a lot of headache with like springs and stuff. Knuckles, for him, you charge up a punch, but in order to like, because Knuckles can glide, right? But this is where it's weird because you have to charge up the punch first, and then you jump, and he activates gliding, but he doesn't climb, and it's like, well, then what good are you? You're just you can kind of punch, and that's basically it. But punching isn't necessary because all these characters, if you jump on an enemy, that's how you get rid of them. You don't have to do anything else. So Knuckles' punches is only good for like breaking walls, I guess. But that's about it. But like the detail in this game, they like it's so good. Like I think they actually worked with people like from Sega to like really see like what to design and what to put in where and whatnot. Like you start off in Tails' garage. That's already a bonus. His X Tornado is in there from Sonic Adventure. So like if you interact with it, it transforms from classic plane to the X plane. It doesn't have wheels on it, and that's why.
Can you fly it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Shadow's motorcycle is in there.
Yeah, in the trailer they show like Shadow and Amy, and they show that like it seems like they're kind of recreating moments from like each of the core games, and then
yeah, because I think Chemical Plant would be next, but I didn't. I don't think I got enough rings to unlock the next level, because I just kept losing them. But like, and apparently there's also a Chow Garden.
Yeah, I saw that in the teaser trailer for it.
You don't actually like raise the chows, but you can still go in there and like interact with it, and like all the music from the games are in there. Well, a lot of the tracks from various games are in there.
Are they redone and retooled for Minecraft, or just the core? Wow, okay.
The exact tracks. There's like a little radio up on the second floor of the garage, and you can keep interacting with it to change the track. It's really cool. If you're a Sonic fan, you'll find a lot of cool details, and I feel like they really try to go all out for this one.
Nice.
Compared to the Mario content, which is just like very, very bare bones. Yeah. So it's very creative. I respect it. I love the effort. I love the detail put into it, but the gameplay just isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're still bound by that engine at the end of the day. Well, that's out now, and we'll keep continuing to celebrate Sonic the Hedgehog's anniversary as long as they'll let us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got another anniversary to talk about, a couple more news announcements, and things along the way, so stay tuned after this. We leave one anniversary and talk about another.
But hold on. Before we go into that, I need to redeem myself because I gave it some thought during the break. And my favorite music from Sonic is the whole soundtrack from Sonic R.
You are correct. That. Thank you. That's
top tier, god tier. be all end all. Okay,
100%.
continue.
Yeah, Sega Saturn's finest. Was that Saturn or CD?
I don't know. I played it on PC.
Oh. Speaking of PC, I played Quake this week to celebrate its 25th anniversary. Quake first launched June 22nd, 1996. And I've never, show of hands, who's completed a Quake game? Boom. We are all one and the same. Yeah, I've never played all the way through Quake. I bought it pretty early on, having a Steam account and it being available, and was excited to play through it, but then never got all the way through. I think I spent more time with Quake Live and Quake Champions than I did Quake proper. But I always have the best of intentions where I'm like, this is the time I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play all the way through beginning to end. And I still have not done that, but I've made it further than I've ever made it before. However, the thing that's interesting about Quake, and the thing that I spent a lot of my week going back and forth with Ben talking about, is the spending more time playing with getting Quake to work than playing Quake. And the different ways that you can run Quake, the different things you can do in Quake, the different console commands, the different control scheme methods, so many different things about Quake that happen outside of the actual, okay, let's just play the game beginning to end. So I haven't gone as far as setting up an auto exec file, but I need to, because right now the way it is, like, I launch Quake, and as soon as I do, I'm like, oh wait, I need to run +M_look so I can turn on mouse look. Which I learned last week that Quake was not the first one to implement mouse look. Marathon actually did that first, but geez, I keep knocking this down. But Quake popularized mouse look, let's say, and kind of modernized the first-person shooter. Although when you think about it, Bungie is kind of the one that modernized shooters on both PC and console, considering Marathon had mouse look first. But Quake, it's just, there's something about it, and I guess like at the time too, the way that Carmack was pushing things forward, and I think it as a whole was just churning out games so quickly, year over year. They go from Wolfenstein to Doom to Quake, all while doing little sequels and things throughout. Just a super impressive portfolio at the time, but Quake itself was like a big step forward in the technology, like the first actual 3D models in games, and running in, the way the lighting engine's set up, like all of the stuff about Quake that's just technically so cool, that still feels really cool in 2021, here some 25 years later. But I also really appreciate the nuance of like tinkering with it, like opening up the console and just trying different commands that I'm reading off of some old file posted from an IRC channel like 2 decades ago, like the stuff that like that weird nitty gritty computer nerd back end stuff that is so integral to Quake, and an era that I think we were all too young to really be a part of. But like, I think the stuff that was happening at the time, I mean, like Twitter in so many ways is still just an IRC chat board, just with a more modernized, right? But like the idea of all of that, like, and just all of that old networking stuff that happened around the edges of Quake and Doom even, that still just kind of has all of those roots are still within what we do modern day. I guess with that, like, has a game ever taught you a real life skill or encouraged you to learn something new? Because I feel like as I'm going through this, and as I had before, like, this is my first time like poking around with some of the Quake stuff, but like learning some of the weird scripting stuff in here, like, led me to get curious about how to run terminal commands and stuff like that. Like, do you guys feel like there's an example of that where you've...
Hacknet.
Yeah, Hacknet's a really good example of that, where they literally give you real commands to deploy.
I don't know if it's in that same vein of like teaching me how to like work with computers or something, but I mean, shit, Rock Band only like helped improve how to play drums.
Yeah, I think drums were huge in Rock Band. Like that, you actually were learning body limb independence as you played that, and then that's a really good example. I also, so last year when Nintendo started offering those $50 2DS refurbs on its website, I picked one up for homebrew and discovered this week that Quake is available via homebrew, Quake 1, 2, and 3 via homebrew on the 3DS.
Wow.
So I installed Quake on my 2DS, and it is a straight port of the PC thing, like to the point where you can open up the console and do the same console commands that you would do on the PC version. In order to actually get the game to, because it's the shareware episode is available per install, but then if you want to actually run the full Quake 1, you need to grab your file, your downloaded pack 1 from Steam or wherever else you bought it, and transfer it to the SD card to make it work. Which I did that and learned that saving, or your save game, you can transfer those between the two too, because it uses the exact same .sav file structure. So I was able to play a bunch on my PC this week, take that save and transfer it over to 3DS, play there and put it back, and that's Kojima's transferring at its finest. But the other thing I did is there's a lot of people who've spent time porting Quake using different engines. So there's a source port. There are other things that run native to Mac or Linux or God knows what else. And I tried all sorts of different ones. I was trying to import a save here. I tried stuff on Mac, on Windows, and there's no wrong way to play Quake. And I don't know that there's, a perfect way to play Quake yet. I hope that later this year we get some ports to modern consoles. I would love to see the way that Doom got ported with widescreen support, mod support, those types of things on modern platforms. I would love to see that stuff carried over. Right now, I got an email from Bethesda or Microsoft, I guess, who knows, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Quake by telling me that it's the 25th anniversary of Quake and that they're going to have content coming to Quake Champions and a tournament for Quake Champions at QuakeCon later this year. And that's kind of it so far for the 25th anniversary
Quake
celebration.
Champions. Good for them.
True. But it's funny, I played a little bit of that. I've been playing Quake for the last 2 weeks, but I wanted to talk about it this week. But 2 weeks ago, I actually jumped into Quake Champions for a bit, and I played a few rounds, and it's pretty good. But then this week when I tried to play it, I could not load into a match without it crashing. It just kept booting me back to the thing, and it wouldn't ping in time. So I don't know what was going on there.
Well, thankfully, it's still in its beta, so.
Yeah, the game's still running. People are still active in it. I think I've yet to play a Capture the Flag match since they've added Capture the Flag to that 5 years ago at this point. But yeah, I think the other thing too is that I thought about this week in regards to Quake is, at any moment you can just kind of hit the tilde key below your escape key, pull up the console and type in God, and then just run through a level in God mode. How do you guys feel about having the ease of access for something like that? For me, for a moment, it felt like it removed the stain of cheating, because there was a part where it sucked. I was way under equipped with ammo and armor, and then I was like, what am I doing? And I flipped God mode on, ran through it, and then realized I had taken the wrong path to get there. So I should have gone a different path, and I would have fully grabbed all the armor I needed to be prepared for that situation, and wasn't. But then I turned it back off and went back to playing normal, and I didn't feel bad. But then I do feel bad about cheating, but then I don't, but then I do, but then I don't, but then I do. But again, like I think it's because it's right there and it's so easy to toggle on and off that I don't know. Do you think more games need to do that? Do you think that that's cheating's cheating?
Well, I mean, isn't that the whole argument with From Software games right now? Like, should there be an easy mode? Should there be something to make those games potentially easier? I don't know. I'm all about giving options, right? Like, there is an easy mode for a From Software game. Sure, I'm gonna play in the normal mode because I'm an asshole. But if it's there for someone to experience, like Elden Ring or a Sekiro or anything like that, especially like Sekiro, like something that had like actually a little bit of like not that obtuse storytelling that other From Software games have had. So I don't know. I'm all about options, man. Like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I could save scum and regain all my MP by hitting these boxes over and over. Is that fun? No, but look, I have the option if things get dire.
Yeah, the From comparison is an interesting because like in this case it wasn't necessarily that it was. I think the From games do a great job of teaching you how to play the game and everything you're doing with that kind of like deliberate action. A, it's rewarding, but B, it's making you prepared for the next big fight or the next change in the gameplay. And not that Quake wasn't, but in the particular section where I did flip God mode on for a moment, like I said, I went the wrong way. So if I had gone the right way, I would have been fine. But going the wrong way, I felt like, ooh, whoops. But even if I had gone the right way and gone through it, it would have been no different gameplay-wise, because it's still just shoot, hide, kill, die, move on, right? Like there's not a From game, like it's pretty, I don't know, there's more to that. Mark, what do you think about cheat mode or God mode?
This was my drug of choice as a kid. I loved Game Genie, loved Game Shark. I just liked seeing all the different things that you could do that you normally couldn't in a game. Had no regrets. Didn't care. A lot of the time it would be like a game I would rent from like Blockbuster or something, and you only have so much time with the game, typically a week.
Yeah.
before bringing it back. But even with games I owned, like I never really finished any of them because I either didn't know how to play, didn't have the patience or the tolerance or something, right? But it was nice to like turn on God mode when that was like the most popular cheat to have in any video game, and kind of just like take a tour through the game, basically. Like if you're not trying to like complete it legitimately, if you're because I feel when you start to feel bad about it, at least for me, if I did, I can't speak for anyone else, so I won't. But like it's always testing like how it's testing my pride and how stubborn am I to maintain that, to do everything like legit. And there's some games I do want to do that with, but other games were just like, look, man, our time here on this planet is short. I don't got time for this shit. I'm just going to surf through it. I don't care. Just whatever. I don't know. I mean, nowadays, I think it should just be, those options should be there. It should be toggled, on and off for offline things, obviously. Online, that's when you're really cheating, I feel. And that's just, no.
Yeah, that'd be a different.
Yeah, no, the online stuff you can't. No, that needs to be controlled. But no, Mark, I don't know what you said made me jog this, but like sometimes cheats bring another level of challenge in a way. Like think back to the golden era of GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas. Like how often could you realistically survive a 6-star event without the weapons cheats?
Yeah,
right.
No,
and then and it was that classic. I mean, this is a different era, of course, but you pass the control to your friends. You see you can like survive the longest, or what the strategy was to try maybe to get out of the 6-star or whatever. So, I mean, I think sometimes I know it's always a specific example. I'm sure there's others though that you almost present another level of challenge with stuff like that.
Yeah, make your own game out of it.
like especially the sandboxy stuff.
And I think Halo kind of did a good job with embracing that kind of stuff with the skulls. Like, there's some that are beneficial, and there's some that are more of a challenge to you as well.
Yeah, I think those are a good legacy of stuff like what we saw in Quake originally. So, anyway, I hope that Quake continues to celebrate this year. I hope that this is not the end of what we hear out of id and Quake. There's some rumors starting to swirl that I want to believe, but, you know, who knows? Hey, Metroid Dread's real, right? So,
It's true.
anything can happen. But I'm hoping that Marty and Hugo have something fun planned for us. Speaking of technological breakthroughs and revolutionizing video games, Matt, you played Mark Cerny's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Sure did. One of the few PS5 exclusive titles out there in the world.
Does it, and few for the foreseeable future, so as Jim Ryan would have it, how does it feel like a true next generation video game?
I mean, it definitely looks like it. The fact that it runs at 60 with so there's 3 modes they have. They have like the super high fidelity, the no ray tracing, and then like this happy middle ground that allows for 60 frames. The high fidelity will only run at 30. But I'm running at that middle thing, which was part of their day one patch, interestingly enough. Yeah, but like the game looks great. I think it's the particle effects in this game. It's the hitting of the boxes, all the bolts flying all over the place, all the bullets, all the chaos, like all that stuff. Like, you know, if you're just looking at the visuals of Ratchet and Clank, yeah, I mean, they look great, you know, but like, I don't think there's a difference between how they look and how Cloud and Tifa look in an actual cutscene in Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. But like, I just think the amount of sheer chaos that can be on a screen with your weapons and the projectiles and all that stuff, and it run at 60 and with no hiccups. I have not run into any problems along that line. And then the loading of the different maps, because they lean into that stuff. There are sequences where the rifts were open, and it's like you'll be running with, like, you'll be in like a car or like some kind of animal that goes, and like you'll keep tearing through rifts, and there's no load times, but it's a completely different world with its own air, like it's its own thing, and there's no hiccups, no evidence that there's loading. You know, you can see the loading in the background almost. So I think there it shines impressively. I'm a few hours in. I'll say somewhere around like 3 or 4. I played most of this before my trip to Houston, so my memory's a little fuzzy of all the details I want to bring up. But generally, I was impressed with it. It's a Ratchet and Clank game at its core. I don't think there's going to be anything like mind-blowing about, oh man, this Ratchet and Clank is, oh my god, I can't believe they did this with Ratchet and Clank. I don't think you're going to get that here.
They have a weapon wheel.
Yeah. You're not going to get that here, but it's still like a very good, solid Ratchet and Clank game. The setup for this one, the main city that Ratchet and Clank live in, we're having a parade for Ratchet and Clank due to their heroic efforts in past years, whatever. Of course, Dr. Nefarious comes in, crashes the party, and there was a gift that Clank was going to give to Ratchet called the Dimensionator, which was, I guess, a gun that was going to allow Ratchet to travel between portals, which I guess, I don't know if we know this, but my assumption was it would allow Ratchet to look for other Linebaxes in other universes. I think that's where Clank was going with that. But yeah, of course, Nefarious gets his hand on the gun, it goes haywire, and all these different timelines and universes start colliding, and rift tears start opening, and like prehistoric dinosaurs are invading this futuristic world, and chaos is essentially happening. Ultimately, Ratchet and Clank and Nefarious go into another world that just so happens to be almost like the polar opposite of their own world. Nefarious is actually an emperor. All his plans actually work. and he is king of this area. There is another Lombax, which you've seen from all the trailers, Rivet, who is kind of organizing her own little like secret overthrow rebellion kind of thing. But you have to see like she's always careful in the streets because Nefarious always has his like robots and stuff looking for any signs of trouble to or an uprising to him. So you're kind of thrown into this different world that's kind of the polar opposite. Events ensue. There's your setup. But like the gameplay is king here. It's Ratchet and Clank at its finest. You got a little bit of the traversal mechanics, the platforming, the guns. I mean, you slowly. I mean, not slowly, but you unlock them as the game goes along, and you get more and more. But like, that's
Are there any new cool ones that are like, whoa?
I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm curious to see like the one that shoots out like the other PlayStation properties.
What?
There's one that shoots. I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten to it yet, but there's one that shoots like other PlayStation properties out. So like one of the dinosaurs from Horizon Zero Dawn will like pop out and start wreaking havc.
Okay.
So I want to see what other stuff is in there. I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, I heard about this.
Here's 500 Sackboys.
I don't know. Like I said, don't have it yet, so I'm curious.
Give me the Polygon gun man. Polygon man gun.
I haven't seen anything as fun as like the disco, like where you shoot it in an area, you just kind of stun them by having them all dance disco-y to allow you to do other things to them. I haven't seen anything.
What kind of other things are you doing to them?
Shooting them.
All right.
I haven't seen anything like that off the wall, but like there's like this ricochet one where like you shoot it, and like, if you keep mashing R2, you get boop, 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 and with the same bullet, and it just keeps hitting them. So like, there's creativity.
That's cool.
There's creativity with the stuff here. It's just I haven't seen anything kind of like as goofy as like that disco gun. I think that was in the remake from when I played of it. Or I have not gotten to that other PlayStation gun. I forget the name of it. The ranking system. So as you use the weapons, you level them up. As you level them up, you kind of get this this grid in the weapon upgrade menu, which you have to do at like the weapon shop, and you had to collect rare titanium, which it's out there. It's not like everywhere. If you kind of go to a corner, you might find some of it, kind of like, but it's not like terribly hard to find. So you get enough of it, and then each little part of the grid is one rare titanium, and you just kind of keep going. But what's cool is within this grid, there's going to be like these certain sections that are yellow. Those are like special abilities with the weapon. The goal with that is you want to wrap your grid around that area, and then once you wrap it completely, you unlock that special ability with the weapon. I forgot what it was, but there are alternate and regular firing based on R2 again, which Returnal kind of did a similar thing with the aim down sights, where a half press and a full press could do different things depending on the gun. So once again, the DualSense is being kind of used to a different capacity than other controllers that are out there currently, at least. But yeah, the worlds themselves, I think if you played a Ratchet and Clank game in the past, you should know what to expect. Like, they're open, you're allowed to kind of walk around freely, but there's definitely the sections that you can see are part of a side quest, part of a main quest, and kind of takes you out and around and then back into like where there's usually like some kind of main-ish hub or whatever, where like your weapon or your weapon shop is, or other NPCs, or for whatever reason, or your ship, like that kind of stuff. So the world stuff should be familiar, but the new thing here is the rifts that are within the map. So they kind of can serve one of two purposes. One, they could be used for platforming to kind of get you from point A to point B. A lot of that is just kind of using your grappling hook. I don't think it's actually your grappling hook that you're using, but it's the same button that allows you to kind of go right into it. And it throws you off at first because it literally just puts you right where the rift is, facing the same way. So you have to kind of quickly get your bearings, but after you do it a few times, you kind of get used to it and you know what to expect. And then of course they can be used in battle. So when you're in these larger areas where these bigger battles are happening, you can see these rifts and you can teleport there, kind of getting behind your enemy or whatever. And it honestly, they're more useful in this, I thought, but they remind me a lot of some of the battle areas from BioShock Infinite, where like you could use Elizabeth's powers to get ammo or something. But I like the whole like escapability almost, where like you kind of get cornered, you're getting swarmed, and then whoop, you can go get behind the enemy, then use like another weapon or something that can kind of like maybe do a bigger AoE effect than just shooting bullets or whatever. So I actually play some strategy into the battle. I'm playing on normal. Some parts are hard. I'm mostly getting through it. I feel like if I'm careless, like I feel like if I get in that mode where I kind of get mindless, I die. But if I'm somewhat observant, concerned, I get through the area without much problem. Ammo is like just good enough where if you really want to lean on one gun, you kind of could, but you will probably run out and have to kind of switch to other weapons. So I feel like the balance of how much ammo they give you encourages you to use all your stuff, which is, I think, good because it makes you use different stuff. And then you realize when you use the different stuff, how they actually can help you. So, and then you maybe start leaning into that a little bit more into your strategies. But yeah, no, I think it's a sound game. It's a Ratchet and Clank game with next gen hardware that does showcase, I think, the next gen hardware. Once again, though, I don't think this is like the better get in line on a Best Buy online site to
not
get
the one you've been waiting for.
Yeah, I still think, it's part of a library. I mean, this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know many people that are going to play this and Demon Souls. I think those are two very different genres, but if you're into both of them, I mean, that might be enough to be like, all right, start scouring the internet for it. But this, I'm glad it's there. I'm enjoying it since I have a PS5, but I still don't think this is what drives you to get the PS5.
No, but
it's very good though.
It's exciting.
I'm having fun with it.
And they're still working on a sequel to Spider-Man, that Insomniac.
I'm assuming so. I would assume.
I hope they make another Sunset Overdrive.
Oh, sorry. One last thing. You do split your time between Rivet and Ratchet, but they have the
different
same
weapons.
Nope, they have the same powers. So it's really just a palette swap.
Interesting.
Ratchet, they get away with it. Events happen. Clank ends up actually with Rivet, and Ratchet's on his own, but Ratchet's had upgrades, I guess, from previous games that allowed him to do all the things he would need Ratchet for. So that's how they kind of get away with you not having Clank.
Did you know that? Do you know who does the voice of Ratchet?
Troy Baker, or who's the other one?
Is it Jaleel White?
James Arnold Taylor. He voices Tidus.
Oh.
Huh.
So now all you'll hear is Tidus now. At least I do. But
I have to play it now. I have to go back and listen to
Ratchet will just laugh from now on.
Dude, who voiced Waka? Where is he at?
That is John DiMaggio.
Oh, was it really?
He's Marcus Phoenix and Bender and Jake the dog.
Jake and 1,000 other things. The Joker in that one movie. Another movie coming out a couple weeks here. Yeah, a couple weeks. Space Jam: A New Legacy. And we got a surprise announcement this week from Xbox and Warner Brothers Pictures of Space Jam: A New Legacy, the game. Interestingly enough, so Digital Eclipse is the developer on this, but the game is a product of ideas submitted from fans back in December. They ultimately blended ideas. They had a youth competition and an adult competition. They took the winner of both competitions and took their ideas. The youth competition winner had suggested some specific game mechanics, while the adult competition winner had suggested to do a classic beat 'em up. So the game is a beat 'em up featuring Bugs Bunny, Lola Bunny, and newcomer LeBron James. He's a brand new Looney Tune. As they face the Goon Squad. The game launches July 1st exclusively on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate as part of the perks program for Ultimate members. So you'll get like a redemption code you can plug into the Xbox Game Store to install Space Jam: A New Legacy, the game. And then the game itself comes out on July 15th for free. It's free to play for Xbox players. They also announced that on July 8th, 3 controllers are being released that feature designs inspired by the movie. There's a Goon Squad, a Toon Squad, and then a third one that looks pretty neat. That's it's like an asphalt gray with some sky blue circuitry on it, because this whole Space Jam movie is about how they kind of jump between dimensions, not unlike Ratchet and Clank, but this time they're doing it via the internet. So
I appreciated how you said there's the Goon Squad, the Toon Squad, and then this one actually kind of looks cool.
Yeah, because the other ones, not so much. But it's neat they're coming out. Those are $69.99 for each controller, available while supplies last. That, if anything, really just got me excited to see what other collaborations Xbox is going to do with marketing tie-ins to make exclusive controllers. I don't know, man. I think they brought back the Xbox controller lab, whatever it is, design lab for the new style controller, and I've made like 5 at this point that I haven't pulled the trigger on, but if they did one that was like inspired by something I actually cared about, that might be a neat thing to jump in on and have something. Because the neat thing about these is they're doing some color schemes that are otherwise not available in the design lab stuff. Some of the face buttons look to be exclusive color designs versus what's available. But
I didn't try, but I guess you can't make that neon green Mountain Dew one.
No, that's got exclusive letter colors on the face buttons. You can get close to it. They do have the actual... The cool thing is they have that body color for everything now. So that was the one thing before, is like you were pretty limited last go around with the colors you could apply to the triggers and whatever. Now every color is available for every part except for the face buttons. Those are limited, but they've added the 360 style full color button. Yeah. So a little blast from the past coming forward. Meanwhile, Way Forward has announced River City Girls 2, planned for 2022, an all-new entry in the River City franchise. This will pick up after the events of the last game, River City Girls. You play again as Misako and Kyoko, as well as Kunio, Ricky, and other characters. The developer promises new moves, new enemies, new recruits, and brand new environments. Additionally, WayForward also announced River City Girls 0. This was originally, I forget the actual Japanese title, but it's part of the Kunio-kun series of the River City series, as we know it here. This was originally released on Super Famicom in 1994 and is being localized to the West for the first time. WayForward has added a new opening cinematic, some new manga cutscenes, and a new theme song by the River City Girls composer Megan McDuffie. This was the first time that players were able to control Misako and Kyoko in the franchise history, and the game is set for release on Nintendo Switch later this year with other platforms to follow. This led me to go back and play a little bit more of River City Girls, and the deeper I get into that game, the more I like it. Immediate takeaways are that WayForward consistently works with talented composers because the music is just incredible. Even if it's just a stage background soundtrack, it's still like, it's memorable, it's catchy, it's got a good beat to it. But any of the ones where like vocals kick in, just top notch. It took me back to the Double Dragon Neon days. And River City Girls, the one that came out in 2019, is very difficult, even at normal difficulty. The things that I've learned is like it's super unforgiving with the enemies, the way you don't have a lot of opportunity to avoid being hit. You're a very small window, and the enemies will slowly kind of crowd you, and taking a hit knocks you back and leaves you vulnerable and leaves you without the option to retaliate. So it can kind of slow down the gameplay a little bit, where you feel like it's taking a while to get through a fight. But the more you play, the more you're leveling up the character, you're earning money, and you can take that money and buy food, which not only heals you, but also gives you permanent stat boosts. And I failed at the game's second boss a few times, but I was like, okay, let me just run back through, because the map is kind of an open map, like where you can just keep circling through. And I did exactly that a few times, and I leveled up and practiced the combo system, and I got better. So by the time I went back to the second boss again, I kind of went through them pretty quickly. So I picked that up after hearing the news about these other two games, and I'm excited for them all to make their way out. River City Girls Zero looks pretty cool. The fact that WayForward's working with Arc System to get that stuff modernized in a way and released for the West, it's exciting. And Mark, you've spent some time in River City, but more importantly, you've spent some time in Saints Row 4 Re-Elected this week. What took you back to old Johnny Gat and pals?
My friend Tasha has been playing it, and she recommended it to me. I've never really played a Saints Row, so and this is like one of her favorite franchises. So we were trying to play on Steam, but it kept crashing for her. Like, I was fine, but like we just couldn't get co-op to work. And then she's been streaming it, and I think I joined in a little later. Like we would play when she wasn't streaming, so I could like catch up and whatnot. But yeah, the more time I spend with that game, the more it's just fun to play. It's a really good co-op game. Like, obviously, you know, the comparisons that people would be first to make is, you know,
GTA.
Like, right. But I would say it's more like Crackdown.
Yeah, because this canonically, you are fully a superhero president at this point, right?
It's basically the Matrix.
Okay.
Like, the city you're in is a simulation. Earth is actually blown up, and aliens are trying to take over and kill you. And through that, you know, all these antics and everything happens. You're trying to get your crew all together and, you know, defeat the bad guys. But, you know, there's all that, like, that humor that Saints Row is known for along the way, and everything's very tongue-in-cheek, very pop culture reference, what have you. Just a lot of that detail all throughout it. But gameplay itself, I think that is the greatest asset of it. Because, like, you get, like, super speed, so you can just run around Sonic style. And, like, you know, you run on the cars and people, they just go flying. Like, nothing can really stop you. And then you can upgrade that to go, like, even further to where, like, you can have tornadoes form behind you, basically, when you're running, so...
So you just leave a wake of chaos everywhere you go?
Yeah, you know, you can jump super, super high, run up buildings. It's kind of like Prototype or, like, Incredible Hulk in a way, too. If you play that one Destruction game, I forget the name of it, but I think the same people who made the Hulk game also made Prototype.
I think you're
so
right.
That makes
yeah.
sense. But it's a lot of that, you know, you can scale buildings and whatnot, and you can glide around the whole city to, like, so like, getting to destinations is pretty good. Man, I was trying to think of, like, what else did I do?
Well, like, you wouldn't drive a car in this anymore, right? Or did this one add jets that you can fly?
There's, like, spacecrafts you can fly.
Okay.
I don't know about jets. Yeah, cars for the most part, it's not really necessary if you can just run super quick, because you do have to unlock that. But there are some story missions where you will be in a car. And there's one that made it pretty neat, because you have this one companion, and you're driving around, he's in the passenger seat, and a song will play, and your character and him will actually sing along to the licensed song that is playing in the game. Which is another thing. This game has a really good soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember that. I
But
think
like,
an open world game like that lives or dies on having a good soundtrack too,
yeah,
because you're spending so much time just wandering and exploring that like you need something to keep you going. And if it gets to the point where you're having more fun turning the volume down and listening to your own stuff, then I think it misses the point of I don't know.
Yeah. But the mission or this game where to shine the most for driving a car. Yeah, so there's a part that happens where you're driving, and it's like part 2 of like singing a song while driving. They just want you to like enjoy the ride, basically. And you start singing. I don't know the name of the track, but it's by Biz Markie, where it's like, you know, they say she's just a friend.
Yeah.
Or you say he's just a friend, oh baby, and so like everybody's in the cars just singing along with it, and then you get cut off because of, the main alien overlord is like listening in on you, so he just like takes over like I guess the comms or something, and you start hearing him singing, and everybody just stops, and they're like, dude, you just fucking ruined Biz Markie. Like, now I really want to kill you. Like, it just became, like, a new reason to take him down. So, like, that's just the kind of humor throughout the whole thing. What was the other thing? Collecting things became very addictive in this, for me. Throughout the city, there is these little orbs called clusters. And that's what you use to upgrade all your powers. So, like, you know, like I mentioned, you can do like super jumps, you can glide, you can run really fast, but you also get telekinesis. You can get like a big, like ground pound type of attack. You can shoot like ice or fire like at enemies and stuff like that. So all that you can upgrade too, and the clusters kind of help towards that. But it's just hard to like you go to a mission, you set it on your GPS to go there, and it's just hard to like. It's hard to ignore the blue orbs that are on these rooftops of buildings and everything. You just got to get it on the way, but then like it's like, all right, it's a little out of the way, but I'll still go get it because I'm fast and I can fly. But then you start to realize that there's this whole city like this whole part of the town that you just did not touch yet, and then it's like, well, I'm just going down this rabbit hole, just collecting clusters now. I forgot what the mission was. Fuck it. You start doing that. So yeah, it's weird that they made collecting that interesting somehow, and I think it's because of how you move around, which is what I kind of like enjoyed in Crackdown. Like Crackdown 2,
yeah, that's very much like I never minded collecting all those orbs in Crackdown because the more orbs you collected and dumped into your jumping, the higher you could jump, and the like by the end of it, you're just scaling buildings in a single button press.
And the weapons are pretty cool too. Like for the most part, I'm just like kind of just bare knuckle. You punch one person, just like a pedestrian, they just go flying like 100 feet. That's pretty cool. If you're sprinting towards anybody and you hit like the attack button, you do like a random like wrestling move basically. Like you can kick someone in the air, like punt them in the air and then grab them and do like a Stone Cold Stunner from like that high up, or you can like drop kick somebody, or you can slide under somebody's legs, grab them by the nuts, and then like do like a power bomb or something. It's just all these weird things to like get health. Or if you're running towards a car and you need to jump into it, you will drop kick through the glass of the car and just sit right into the passenger seat. It's little details like that are cool. But for the weapons, I remember one that was heavily advertised was the dubstep gun.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Probably like one of the most like powerful weapons in that game. You know, you shoot at everything, the music's playing, the music is the weapon, and everybody's either dancing or getting destroyed by it. The cool thing is that with DLC, there are different types of dubstep guns that play different genres of music. It's not just dubstep. So you have like a death metal one, you have like a swing music one. My favorite is the Oktoberfest one. And it plays polka music.
There you go.
And like the design of the gun has like a funny like Oktoberfest pattern, you know, it's like blue and white checkers going all over it. and the gun has like a turntable built into it, and on the turntable you see an image of a pretzel that's just kind of spinning around. It's just having a good time with that. But yeah, like the story, I'm not that attached to it because I'm not too familiar with the series. So I'm kind of getting filled in on like the lore as I'm going along. So it's cool to, I guess, secondhand appreciate what they're trying to do, or see, I guess, how the series has evolved from kind of being an almost like GTA clone, and then it found its own identity by like just being really wacky and corny and just embracing that.
Yeah.
In a way, development-wise, I feel you could really get away with this because they really like to use bugs and glitches as like a theme throughout this game, and the game does crash quite a bit when it shouldn't, or it freezes or something. You know, like you could tell it's not intentional, but you could totally get away with being, oh yeah, that's just the game. You know, just being immersive or something.
And that was some stuff that carried into the Switch port, if I remember correctly, too. Like, I remember that was really rough around the edges with crashes and things.
Yeah. I mean, we've had it crash a couple times, but it never crashed, because now we were playing on PlayStation. She's on PS5, I'm on PS4. So yeah, my PS4 is getting some attention because of this game. And the game has crashed like once or twice, but not the whole system. So
that's a plus.
Yeah, that's a plus. But yeah, I mean, otherwise I probably wouldn't have cared too much to play it. I don't think that's really anything against the game. It's just me. Like those type of games, I would just prefer to just like play with a friend. So yeah, I remember hearing about it being fun and being good, but I just completely missed it when it first released. I just didn't have a pulse on that series. But yeah, if you want something that's not Crackdown, but like it, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, you're reminding me I never finished Crackdown 3, and I don't know if I want to or not, but
2 was my favorite.
You said 2 was your favorite?
For Crackdown?
Wow, I never played 2, but I remember that one being divisive for people who played the first one. But I think 2 had a bigger emphasis on co-op, didn't it?
I think so. I mean, and my other friend Joe, like, we covered our cars in rubber ducky sticky grenades and then played chicken.
That's... I think I remember people who did not want to play with other people being upset about 2. But I think by the time 2 came out, I did not have my 360 anymore. I can't remember, but... well, yeah, I'm excited to hear more about Saints Row 4. I'm excited to see what they do next. Because it's been a bit since... They made that Agents of Mayhem spin-off game that did not seem to do...
Yeah.
Great stuff. But, yeah. I think that's going to do it for us on episode 407. Unless you guys have any other final thoughts.
I got nothing.
No, I think Sonic R still is the best soundtrack.
I agree. Go play some Sonic R, or at least the soundtrack, if you have not already. With that, I recommend you also play some Quake this week in one way or another. And maybe ping those Steam purchases so that Microsoft sees people want Quake. Unless you don't want Quake, then I guess don't play Quake. But you should want Quake. Let us know if you would buy one or all of the Space Jam: A New Legacy video game controllers. And follow us all on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Matt is at MattyIce131. Mark is at Og_mental. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is the email address where you can send us emails. And that's it. What are you guys getting into this week?
I didn't talk about it, but I've been playing Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne in the background as I prepare for Shin Megami Tensei 5 now.
Yeah.
With only a few hours of 3 under my belt, I think I'm the number one fan of the franchise now. I know everything, so.
Correct. That's how it works. Mark?
I'm probably, I think I'm like almost halfway through Saints Row, so I'm sure I will finish that by next week, probably. I think I've only played this for like 2 nights and just jumped that far, so it's cool when somebody's progress is ahead of yours and they can just catch you up. Olympics, I'll probably play here and there because I think that's just a game that's just better played in like spurts. So
Yeah.
it's like a good snack game, between the meals, and maybe dive into Mario Golf.
Yeah, I gotta play Mario Golf.
Yeah, that's out as of Friday.
I might not have a platinum in Final Fantasy VII by the time we record next, but I might have the surprise semi-organic platinum trophy MLB The Show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just gotta do one mode, which I've already kind of worked halfway through once I noticed all I needed to do was this mode. And, yeah. That was one of those rare platinums where you just kind of look at a trophy list out of nowhere and you're like, I'm like 2 trophies away. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I jumped into State of Decay 2 again this week. Started toying around in there. I was doing a little bit of Game Pass channel surfing, and I tried out Drake Hollow. I tried out nope, not Chris Tales. That's not out yet. Crosscode I tried. And then I looked at State of Decay 2 again, and I was like, what's happening here? So I'm going to play more of that. I spent a couple hours with it already, and I'm going to spend a good chunk of time with it this week, I think. Pick up where my old family left off, we'll say. So I'll have more on that next episode. But until then, head over to thefreecheese.com, find everything else we've done. Follow us on Twitter, tell your friends about us, leave us a review on the podcast store. And that is going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.